Hey basketball guys, we have news. Let's go to more Los Angeles Lakers news, but first don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. The Lakers have two needs on their roster: a solid, athletic, scoring wing and a big, high-level center to be a starter. To get these players, the Lakers will need to get rid of Austin Reaves, who had an amazing regular season and continues to be a fan favorite. But Austin Reaves was quiet in the playoffs and failed to establish himself as a big star. The Lakers want to be champions urgently, and for this reason they may accept a trade for Austin Reaves. Rumors: the Lakers want to negotiate with the Brooklyn Nets and sign Cameron Johnson and Nick Claxton, a big 7-foot center. The Lakers desperately need a center, so should they consider an Austin Reaves for Nick Claxton trade this offseason? The Los Angeles Lakers trade for Luka Doncic was one of the biggest fleeces in NBA history, and that remains the case even after the team lost in the first round of the playoffs. But now they need to make a move involving Austin Reaves. The Lakers and Dallas Mavericks shocked the world when Doncic was moved to Los Angeles for only Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and one first-round pick. At the time, Doncic was 25 years old and clearly one of the best players in the NBA, while Davis, while still talented, was years deep into struggling with injury issues. The trade was predictably disastrous for the Mavericks, as injury problems continued to plague Davis, which led to the Mavericks missing the playoffs altogether. The Lakers weren't quite as dominant as expected with Doncic and LeBron James on the roster, though, and that is largely because Doncic's skill set is a little redundant with Reaves on the roster. More so, though, the team's lack of depth at the center position haunted them and ultimately prevented the team from winning their first-round matchup. The Doncic trade was more of a long-term play, but the Lakers should still want to maximize James' time alongside the Slovenian before the former number 1 pick retires. While Reaves developed into a great player and one of the best third options in the NBA this past season, he might not be the best fit for the next couple of years. Therefore, trading him for a big man could make sense. A trade with the Brooklyn Nets for Nick Claxton is something that the Lakers should pursue. Lakers-Nets trade proposal involving Austin Reaves. Nets receive Austin Reaves, Maxi Kleber, Dalton Knecht, Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, 2031 first-round pick. Trading Reaves would be no easy decision for the Lakers because the former undrafted guard took huge strides in his development this past season. Reaves averaged 20.2 points per game in his fourth year in the league, and he was even better than that in the games that Doncic and/or James didn't play in. Reaves has a silky smooth handle, a craftiness about getting to the rim, a reliable jump shot, and advanced playmaking skills. Those attributes give him immense potential on the offensive end. However, everything that he can do, Doncic can do a little bit better. Additionally, both players struggle on the defensive end. Between Doncic and James, there is plenty of offensive creation to go around in Los Angeles, but the Lakers need more size and defense. Claxton would immediately fill LA's biggest hole. The team tried to trade for a center ahead of the NBA trade deadline, but the NBA canceled the trade for Mark Williams after the Charlotte Hornets center failed his physical. The Lakers had no centers on the roster who were clear-cut rotation caliber players. Jackson Hayes was their primary five-man, but the Lakers even benched him in Game 5 of their series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Claxton is a play finisher who can get putback rebounds and catch alley-oop passes. He is also a solid rebounder and an impressive shot blocker. His rim protection prowess has put him in Defensive Player of the Year conversations before. Cam Johnson would bring in even more defense. Johnson fits the mold of a 3-and-D player who could thrive on the court with playmakers like James and Doncic. Could trading for Austin Reaves elevate the Nets? A rebuilding team like the Nets could be interested in handing Reaves the keys to their franchise. The Nets have a ton of draft capital that sets them up well for the future, but they've also shown interest in bringing in a legitimate star, evidenced by their interest in Giannis Antetokounmpo. Claxton and Johnson are solid players, but their ceilings aren't nearly as high as Reaves' ceiling is. As the lead option, the Nets could envision Reaves approaching 25-plus points per game and becoming a bona fide all-star. The Nets would also get some other solid pieces back in this trade. Dalton Knecht, who was the other half of that failed trade for Williams, had a solid rookie season. Impressing in year one is no easy feat, and his three-point shooting would translate to any team. Jared Vanderbilt is also a solid hustle player who can give effort on defense while also thriving on the offensive glass. The Lakers' 2031 first-round pick also holds significant value because James will be in retirement by then, so the Lakers' pick could end up in the NBA draft lottery. Because Claxton and Johnson have so frequently been part of trade rumors, their time with the Nets could be at an end soon. Brooklyn should be happy to add a player like Reaves who has legitimate all-star potential. Key Los Angeles Lakers player can be a free agent this summer. Dorian Finney-Smith began the 2024-25 NBA season playing for the Brooklyn Nets. During the middle of the year, he was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers in a deal for D'Angelo Russell. Finney-Smith finished the season with averages of 8.7 points, 3.9 rebounds, and 1.4 assists per contest while shooting 44.8% from the field and 41.1% from the three-point range in 63 games, 40 starts. This summer, the 32-year-old can become a free agent. He has a player option in his contract for the 2025-26 season at $15.4 million. Via Daniel Starkin of Lakers Nation, on May 1, Dorian Finney-Smith says he has not thought about his player option yet as he was focused on the playoffs and getting to the second round. Finney-Smith helped the Lakers finish as the third seed in the Western Conference with a 50-32 record. However, they lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first round of the 2025 NBA playoffs, in 5 games. Via Mike Trudell of Spectrum Sportsnet, on April 11 Dorian Finney-Smith, in 42 games for LA this season, is plus 252, Lakers have outscored opponents by 252 when he's on the court. That translates to plus 6.0 per game, a mark matched only by Luka Doncic, who has played 27 games. Finney-Smith has spent 9 NBA seasons with the Lakers, Nets, and Dallas Mavericks. His career averages are 8.3 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 1.4 assists per contest while shooting 43.6% from the field and 36.2% from the three-point range in 591 games. Should Austin Reaves' playoff struggles inspire questions about his Lakers' future? Questioning Austin Reaves' future with the Lakers did not seem possible after the regular season, but after his playoff struggles, those questions no longer seem as far-fetched. Before the Lakers' first-round playoff series against the Minnesota Timberwolves started, it was easy to predict that this matchup could end up being the most difficult of Austin Reaves' playoff career. It was not only very likely Reaves would be the primary defensive option against Anthony Edwards, but that Minnesota would treat Reaves as the primary option he'd been all regular season and deploy Edwards, or potentially Jaden McDaniels if he was not defending Luka Doncic, onto him. Reaves, then, would very much be in the crosshairs all series, and his ability to navigate these sorts of difficult individual matchups on both sides of the floor by holding up defensively while also maintaining a baseline level of offensive production, something he could credibly claim he'd done in his 2 previous years as a playoff performer, would be very important to the Lakers' chances at winning. However, instead of elevating his game as he'd done in years past, or even just maintaining his improved regular season production and effectiveness, Reaves saw significant dips nearly across the board as his points, down 4.0 per game, assists, down 2.2, free throw attempts, down 3.6, and shooting percentages, down 4.9% overall, 5.8% from behind the. These end-of-series numbers tell you what happened, of course, but they don't tell the story of how it happened. What stood out most in watching Reaves, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, was how much he struggled to create separation against his individual defender. On multiple possessions a game, Austin got stonewalled at the point of attack, had his handle disrupted, and struggled to even get to his comfortable spots on the floor, to say nothing of generating advantage. Even off the ball, he struggled to shake free from the holding and hand-fighting that typifies playoff hoops. underscore 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 underscore. Latest video from SB Nation. Underscore 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 underscore. And this wasn't just against Edwards, but against most every Timberwolf he found himself matched up against. By simply diving into the types of shots he took and did not take during the series, it's fairly easy to see how things went wrong for Reaves. Namely, you see a huge uptick in three-point field goals combined with a significant decrease in free throws, particularly in relation to what he did during the regular season. In the regular season, about half of Austin's total field goal attempts came from beyond the arc, 7.3 attempts from deep out of his 14.2 FGA. In the postseason, Reaves' three-point attempts took up nearly two-thirds of his total shot attempts, 9.4 of his 14.6 attempts, with him only connecting on 31.9% of those shots. Meanwhile, from the foul line, Austin averaged 5 attempts per game in the regular season, but took just 7 total in the 5 games versus Minnesota. On too many possessions, Reaves never got inside the three-point line at all as the Wolves' defense switched screens and left him on an island to create for himself. He did get some wins, particularly in Game 2 where he had several bully ball and speed attack drives for floaters and layups. But, overall, he got bottled up, fighting for space and looking to turn a corner that never became available. This led to too many threes, including some he'd surely like to have back. And, again, this wasn't just against Edwards. Austin had issues beating Dante DiVincenzo too, and even had real problems taking Mike Conley off the dribble several times towards the end of the series, signaling a level of effectiveness that was so far below expectation, it seemed like there had to be some greater explanation as to why he was struggling to the degree he was. And, it turns out, there was. Reaves was, reportedly, playing with what would normally be a multi-week toe injury, the type of ailment that had him staying off his feet on the days between games to give himself the best chance to be able to play. The fact that an injury this serious did not land Reaves on the injury report at all is a bit curious, especially for a Lakers team that had proven to be relatively cautious in how they managed injuries this season, several times erring on the side of caution with player availability and being pretty proactive in how they managed the injury report. That said, in taking these reports at face value, this is the exact sort of injury that could hamper his mobility and explosiveness both off the dribble and out of a triple threat, leaving him less able to create the sort of separation that power the speed attacks which not only help him draw fouls, but get defenders on their heels to open up the rest of his offensive game. Austin, to his credit, never made an excuse or even mentioned the injury himself, though I'd imagine it was his camp who leaked it, but I digress. After Game 5, Reaves pointed the finger at himself and straight up said he needed to be better. Obviously, I didn't have the series that I wanted to have, Reaves said. So you can point the finger at me. I really don't care. I wasn't good enough to help us be successful and I wish I could have did more but I didn't. I struggled, but you live and you learn and I can guarantee that I'll get back to work this offseason and be better. And the trust that Reaves will, in fact, get better is something the organization clearly believes, too. At the end-of-season press conference that Rob Pelinka and head coach J.J. Redick held, the former called Reaves a pillar of the team next to LeBron James and Luka while also noting that he has full trust in that trio to be able to play together at a high level. Whether it's just semantics or rooted in how much the team does value him, elevating Austin to the same level as his superstar teammates is quite the statement by the newly extended and minted president of basketball operations and signals they see his future in Los Angeles, not just for next season, but as a potential long-term partner next to Doncic. One can still question, however, whether that should be the case, particularly in the wake of how Reaves played against the Wolves. Of course, the injury played some part in his diminished effectiveness, but even when accounting for being hurt, it was clear Reaves' athletic disadvantages were critical factors in his general play. Minnesota not only swarmed him with size, speed, and length when guarding him, but targeted him on the other side of the ball with quickness and strength, taking him to the post and forcing him to box out bigger players within the Lakers' switching scheme defensively. This sort of targeting was only amplified in lineups where he played next to Luka, as Austin would often find himself on the back line as a help defender near the rim or crashing down to help the helper to fend off a rebounder when Luka was attacked in isolation from the top of the floor or the wing. This combination of having both Reaves and Doncic as viable entry points for opposing offenses to go after must be a part of the roster construction calculus moving forward, and it must happen as soon as this offseason.